Barak Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is called I Am Become Death, the Destroyer of Worlds. This is a direct quote from an individual named J. Robert Oppenheimer. He was a scientist, physicist, whatever his titles were, that worked on the Manhattan Project. And he worked on the atomic energy, nuclear missiles, bombs, He worked on, calculations of separation of certain elements, to create these weapons that we now, that the world now knows as nuclear, weapons. And that was a direct quote that he made based off of the scriptures of the Hindus called the Bhagavad Gita. And this lesson came through the inspiration of a video I was watching. I was watching it yesterday, but I finished watching it today. It's a video you see before you that Elder Apostle Hart did. In Revelation 9:13, the sixth trumpet, ICBMs from the north. And the apostle was going into the plagues and the pestilence, being the nuclear missiles. And he was saying these things in the spirit, that kind of stirred my spirit up and made me think about this individual here, J. Robert Oppenheimer. All right. And this is a direct quote from him. And by the way, I put this video in the description box. If you haven't seen it yet, I suggest you go and check it out. Bring it out. Oh, boy. That's an inside joke, but boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, this is from Open Culture. It says, J. Robert Oppenheimer explains how he recited the line from Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," upon witnessing the first nuclear explosion. All right, and this began the nuclear space race, not space race, nuclear race or whatever, however they call that whole thing of trying to get, their arsenal up, for protection against the world. And after he did this, and after he dropped this in Shalom to the apostles, bishops, elders, brothers, and sisters that's on the comment boards, Shalom, the sincere. Pretty much, this began that whole movement forward. And the reason why is because this was the Heavenly Father doing this. I want to get one precept real quick, and then I want to move on to another point through the Spirit. This is the book of Isaiah 54:16, and this is what it says. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith." Who is this speaking? The Most High. "I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire." Now, an ancient smith, we know, had the anvil, had the hammer. He would be in extreme heat. The Apocrypha tells us that constant banging would be in his ear, because that's all he did all day was bang weapons from metals. He would forge them. He would beat them. He would, put them in fire. He would mold them. And then he would temper them by putting them back into the water and, and giving it that form. And, after he finished making it, he would design it, however the person wanted to design and, and customize it. So the smith here is from the Hebrew word charash, which means craftsman, artisan, engraver, artificer, skillful to destroy, warriors. So these are warriors that are skillful to destroy. The weapons that they use, and the weapons that were made of this work, smith. If you want to know more about a smith, just type in, smith, that would make tools in the ancient world, something along that line. So the Heavenly Father said that I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And this is what they would do. He would bring forth an instrument for his work, which would be the thing that he created. And the word for instrument is kalaya. That's kind of heavy. Kalaya. Okay. If I remember, if the Spirit remember, because I got something a little further down. If the Spirit reminds me, then I'll bring it out. Bring it out. Fuck. Lord. Article, vessel, implement, utensil. Article, object, general, utensil, implement, apparatus, vessel, implement of hunting or war, implement of music, implement, tool of labor, equipment, yoke of oxen, utensils, furniture, vessel, receptacles. You know, so it could be anything. But in this case, we're talking about instruments of war. All right. Right here it says artillery, vessel or weapon. You know, you can make musical instruments. You know, you can make eating utensils, farming utensils. And that's what the scriptures say, weapon whatsoever. That's what the scriptures say, beat your swords into plowshares. Because once this final war is fought, you know, World War III, as the scriptures call it, World War Woe, that's going to be the last war to end all wars. And from that point on, you know, there will be no more wars after that. And that's how we know that the Amalekites that are over there in the land are not the people of the Lord, because you still see wars around the world. So it goes, let's read that again, one more again. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. And this waster to destroy is talking about what? This missile. This is dealing specifically with the missile. Specifically, shakath, to destroy, corrupt, to go to ruin, decay, to be marred, be spoiled, corrupted. When you read the book of Joel, the 2nd chapter, it goes into the total devastation that they're going to leave. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same chapter, or it may be in the book of Ezekiel. It says, before them is as a garden of Eden, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Destroyer. All right. So the Lord said he created the waster, and that's what these missiles do, to destroy. And the word for destroy is chabal. You know, to bind, to take a pledge, lay to pledge. Yeah, and we read about this, the word haram, which means curse or a cursed thing. This is the pledge. You know, this missile is the pledge to bring forth the total devastation of Esau and of his total annihilation of his world, of his system. You know, and to bring in the kingdom and bring in Yahweh B'Shem Shai's kingdom, the Israelites and the other nations being enslaved, including the Edomites, because they're still here. Now, building on this waster to destroy being the missiles, you know, that's why we read that this individual, J. Robert Oppenheimer, said, explains how he recited the line from Bhagavad Gita, now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds, upon witnessing the first nuclear explosion. And the Lord said that he has created the waster to destroy. All right, the destroyer of worlds. All right. Now, what this brought to mind was the movie Planet of the Apes. Now, this Planet of the Apes is beneath the Planet of the Apes, which was 1970, which was the second of a series of movies called Planet of the Apes. And pretty much what Planet of the Apes depicts, it depicts the future as to where, you know, pretty much America, even though they didn't use the word America was totally destroyed, you know, and it was known as the Forbidden Zone. Because once America is destroyed, nothing will be here but unclean creatures, animals, you know, devils, you know. And they call it the Forbidden Zone. Now, the second episode, 1970, of Planet of the Apes was called Underneath the Planet of the Apes. And there was a scene where the Edomite was walking through, you know, down, you know, in some tunnels, and he came up in New York. You know, it was a subway in New York, you know, that he was coming into, and this was after the destruction. But none of that's going to be left after the destruction. There will be nothing. There won't be no half, you know, Statue of Liberty hanging out of the sand It's going to be total annihilation. Nothing will be left here. They say it won't even take a corner, to build. They won't have nothing here to start civilization over in these parts of the world. Right? It says the Alpha Omega bomb was a large atomic missile manufactured sometime in the late 20th century. Now, this is in the movie. This not this dialogue, but there's a part in this movie it's heavy. We'll get to it. 2,000 years later, George Taylor recognized it from the symbols Alpha and Omega on the fins and knew it to be the doomsday bomb, which was being developed before he launched in 1972. All right. Now, we go here, and what do we see? We see a picture of the missile. You can't really see it that good there. I was hoping to get a bigger one. See the picture of a missile there. And before the missile, you have a so-called priest. Because remember, Esau has a priesthood on the left-hand side. You can see a little bit better there. That's the missile. And then on the fin right over here, it has Alpha and Omega. You could type that in. You see what looks like a missile and an upside-down cross here. Because they're against the Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. And they're trying to use these weapons to bring against the Lord. And this is really, in essence, this is a part of their idol. Here you have a group of them. This is part of the priesthood. That are worshipers of this, pretty much of the New World Order, because the nuclear missiles is what they're going to use ultimately to bring in the New World Order. And you see here Alpha and Omega on the fin of this nuclear missile. All right. And this is what brought the end, of everything, from Gatling gun to nuclear missile. This is what brought they lived by the sword. They destroyed the world by the sword. They put everybody in subjection by the sword, and they're going to go out by the sword. Remember, Yahweh Shai said, you live by the sword, you shall die by the sword. All right, so now let's go back to this individual. J. Robert Oppenheimer explains how he recited a line from the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," upon witnessing the first nuclear explosion. And he's known as the father of the nuclear age, if I'm not mistaken, on the terminology. And he was also in charge of what was known, or we know today, as the Manhattan Project, which was scientists, a lot of them brought from Germany, to create, this particular missile that would be pretty much the undoing of Esau. So it's this Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project was a research and development undertaken during World War II that produced the first nuclear weapons. It was led by the United States with the support of the United Kingdom and Canada. So it was these three Edomite nations that were in charge of putting this together from 1942 to 1946. The project was under the direction of Major General Leslie Groves of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Notice a direct link between the scientists and the military. It says because these are what? These are the modern day Smiths. But instead of blowing the coals in the fire to make a sword or to make a dagger or a shield or a helmet or whatever else, they're putting their energy and effort together to build a nuclear missile to be able to deliver total devastation upon a nation or nations. It says nuclear physicist Robert Oppenheimer was the director of the Los Alamos laboratory that designed the actual bombs. The Army component of the project was designated the Manhattan District as its first headquarters were in Manhattan. The place name gradually superseded the official code name, development of substitute materials. For the entire project along the way, The project absorbed its earliest British counterpart, tube alloys. The Manhattan Project began modestly in 1939, but grew to employ more than 130,000 people and cost nearly $2 billion US, equivalent to about $23 billion in 2019, which shows you how far down, the dollar has gone. It says over 90% of the cost was for building factories and to produce fissile material, which is nuclear material, capable of sustaining a nuclear fission chain reaction. That's where you get your silos, you get your missiles, you get your nuclear power plants, so on and so forth, with less than 10% for development and production of the weapons. Research and production took place at the more than 30 sites across the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. So there was 30 sites where they were spending billions of dollars on this research, and finally came up with the technology of the missile, and they tested it in certain places. All right, now when we jump down here, it says the project was also charged with gathering intelligence on the German nuclear weapon project, because they were also building, nuclear weapons. That's why they took the Weizmann of Teman, which are the Germans, to help, with this project. Through Operation Alsos, Manhattan Project personnel served in Europe, sometimes behind enemy lines, where they gathered nuclear materials and documents and rounded up German scientists. All right. Now, there's one more point I want to get out of here, and just bear with me while I find it. Oh, and these are a selection of U.S. and Canadian sites important to the Manhattan Project. And you see up in Canada, all of these, Rochester, Washington, D.C., Oak Ridge, all of these were Los Alamos. This is where Robert Oppenheimer, he was the director of this area. This is all the places where they were working on this to get this nuclear fission. And then you also had Britain that was a part of, helping put all this together. There was those three. Now, when we jump down here, this goes into a lot of history of, of this whole thing. And you can see how big the computers were back then. Just bear with me right here. This would be under Trinity, but it would be under weapon design. When we go down here, this is Sanskrit, which this devil Oppenheimer, he was learned in Sanskrit. He knew the Bhagavad Gita. He read it. He was studied. This devil went to college to study all this BS. This is why he was able to quote this when he saw it. And he quoted a couple of things from the Bhagavad Gita. This is one of them. It says, if the radiance of 1,000 suns were to burst at once into the sky, that would be like the splendor of the mighty one. See? And this is what's going to happen because, before we read on, let's get the book of Isaiah chapter 9. But before we read that one, let's go to Malachi chapter 4, because it said if the radiance of 1,000 suns were to burst at once into the sky, and remember the sun has what? Nuclear, radiation coming off it. That would be like the splendor of the mighty one. So we read Malachi 4:1. It says, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. And as you've heard Elder Pastor mention this, this is not talking about your regular conventional oven that you have at home that reaches 550. And if you want to get a little more, you throw it in the broiler. No, this is talking about very, very, very hot. I was watching this documentary on the Assyrian Empire, and they show you a clay oven, and you see the guy kneading the dough, and then he will slap the pieces, of the bread inside of the oven, and they cook very fast, and sometimes they burn it because it's so hot. Well, this is the type of heat that's coming to this place. It says, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. Why? Because it tells us also in the book of 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, that the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And what's going to be so hot that's going to make elements like buildings and cars and tanks and just different bank vaults and just different things in general melt? That's talking about this nuclear fire that's coming, which the scriptures call the second death, and they also call it the lake of fire. It says, "And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch," because America is going to be totally annihilated. The land of Israel is going to be totally wiped out. And whatever other place on the planet that the Lord has destined for them to get hit, with this plague, with this pestilence, they're going to get it. Now, let's go back to Isaiah chapter 9, verse 5, and it says, "For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood." And this is how ancient battles were fought. It's to the point now where these devils are such pussies, that they got now. I watched this a movie. What movie was that? That was Outside the Wire, I believe it was called, with this guy Anthony Mackie. Where they pretty much are building robots, and enhancing man, connecting them with machine to be able to create, robots to fight their wars. That's why they have drones. That's why they have, different things of that nature, these bombs, because wars are not fought like they were fought in the past. You still have, your skirmishes on the battlefield, but it's not like it was before, because back then you didn't have guns. It was sword, it was shield, it was lance, it was helmet, it was coated mail, it was armor, and your whole survival depended first and foremost on if the Most High was on your side, and second of all of your skill of battle on the battlefield, and the amount of training that you put into, prior to the battle, right? No different than a boxing match, or a basketball game or whatever the case may be. But the only thing is, if you lost, you lost your life more than likely, or you lost limbs. It says, "But this," meaning this final battle, World War III, the third woe, "but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." And what's that going to be? That's going to be those nuclear missiles. And part of the fuel of fire is going to be what? People's meat. These meat puppets that are out here that are going to be burnt up in this destruction. Just let me see, bear with me if I can see if I can find this one real quick. Burning tickets. Right, 19th verse. "Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened." Yeah, because when the Most High brings that destruction, that fire, the sun and the moon and the stars on this side of the world are going to be darkened because of the plume of smoke, that thick smoke that's going to be coming up. "And the people shall be as the fuel of the fire." See? So that flesh of these people, that's going to add to the fuel of the fire, along with all the different natural resources like propane and natural gas and gasoline, and whatever other thing they have, kerosene, coal, and trees, It says, "No man shall spare his brother." Yeah, because there's not going to be any mercy in that day for anyone left on the soils of America or wherever these missiles are going to hit. All right, because they're not going to spare. Let's go real quick to Isaiah 13. What is that? Is that Isaiah 13? Right, let me start at 17. "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which are the so-called Russians, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it," because they're not going to, because the fury of the Lord is going to be in them, because the Lord says he's going to put his hooks into their jaws and turn them back. "Their bows," which is what? Their missiles, "also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children." So they're not going to spare men, women. They're not going to spare old men, old women. They're not going to spare little girls. They're not going to spare little boys. They're not going to spare babies. They're not going to spare infants. They're not going to spare toddlers. They're not going to spare pregnant women. None of that. Because it's going to be total devastation. It says, "And Babylon," which is America, Babylon the Great, "the glory of kingdoms, The beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And we know how Sodom and Gomorrah and those other neighboring cities went out. They went out with fire from the heavens, you know. So reading that, you should, you know, we read stuff like this and no, they ain't talking about that. They ain't talking about no nuclear missiles. Are you crazy? But anyway, so let's go back here. It says, if the radiance of 1,000 suns were to burst at once into the sky, that would be like a splendor of the mighty one. Then it says, years later, he would explain that another verse had also entered his head at that time. This is Oppenheimer. We knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried. Most people were silent. Because when you see the power and the devastation, we see it on video and it's devastating. Imagine actually being there and seeing it like these people saw it. You know, it brings about conflicting emotions. You know, because some people, when they get nervous, they laugh. So this could have been people that laughed, could have been, you know, those that knew, you know, that this was going to happen, and they finally worked it out. But then you can have those that have the nervous twitch of smiling when they nervous. You know, it says some people cried, most people were silent. Why? Because they saw potentially, which at that time they would think potentially, but really it's actually the destruction of Esau's system, the society, and they're thinking in the conventional way of the destruction of the whole entire world, the whole entire planet. And this is what these wacky-tacky Christians teach, like a vocab. And that's not the case, because the earth is going to continue on forever. Matter of fact, I was meditating on this the other day, because I read through this, and this is after Noah. You know, I read that, you know, the Spirit had me read the story of Noah after the flood, and how the Lord, you know, delivered Noah, you know, and off the ship and everything. And I was reading here in Genesis 8:20 on down. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. See? Because at that time, the Lord took everybody off the planet except the people that were on that ark. So the Lord said, neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. So there's not even this devastating destruction that's coming of these missiles is not going to take everybody off of the planet. All right. It says, while the earth remaineth, and the earth remaineth for what? Let's get the book of Ecclesiastes 1:4. It says, one generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The earth abideth forever. Forever, ever? Forever, ever. The earth abideth forever. Okay? All right? Okay, vocab? So it says, neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. While the earth remaineth, seed time, and harvest, and cold, and heat, and summer, and winter, and day, and night shall not cease. So that means that this is never going to cease, because from the moment the Lord had Yahushua create everything, it was forever. That's why he facetiously said, you know, if the earth can be searched out, if the heavens can be searched out, if the deep can be searched out, if the sun and the moon and the stars don't give their light, then will I do away with the nation of Israel. So there's many things that kill that argument. And then the one more is Revelation 9:20, and the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, which is what? These missiles, yet repented not of the works of their hands. So that means that they're still going to be alive on the earth. So the Lord is not going to do a Death Star strike on the earth. It says that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. All right. So they're going to still be alive on the planet. So it goes on to say, we knew the world would not be the same. A few people laughed, a few people cried, most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him, takes on his multi-armed form and says, and this is him right here, multi-armed form, and says, now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that one way or another. See? And that's exactly what it is. That this devastation, pretty much, that this particular weapon has the capability of annihilating the whole earth, which it does. But the Lord is not going to allow that, because the Lord has a purpose for the earth, and it's going to be reestablished. And the scriptures say that the earth was created, for man. All right, now, when I was, Spirit had me putting this together, another thought came into mind dealing with this whole Hindu religion. And I thought it was Vishnu, which is the Vishnu, also known as Aryana, and Hari is one of the principal deities of Hinduism. He is which I thought, all this time I thought this was a woman, but it's actually a man. I just learned that today, actually at this moment. When I was looking into it. He is the supreme being within Vaishnavism, one of the major traditions within contemporary Hinduism. And I typed in to see what it meant, and pretty much it's supposed to be something that brings balance between good and evil, which they pretty much, all these nations just take the characteristics of the Most High and add it into their demonic, wall of gods. But what this made me think about was years ago, and the Empire State, they were actually, in the Empire State Building, they were actually showing pictures of endangered lions, which I forgot about that until I went back to kind of brush up on that. And that's pretty much what it was. It was they were showing like different animals that were in danger of being extinct. And at the end of the whole thing, they put the image of Kali, which I thought this was Vishnu, but it was actually Kali, and this is the image that was on the Empire State Building at the end of that whole, of that whole thing. Here you got the tiger, one of the tigers that was, about to be extinct. And then eventually they had, Kali. Now, the name Kali, it says, why goddess Kali took over Empire State Building in New York City. On August 2nd, and this was 2015, Empire State Building showcased a combination of pictures to bring awareness about endangered species, right? It says goddess Kali took over New York. Oh, matter of fact, so that's what they did, right? Now, it says Kali, what does Kali mean? Is death. Kali, Sanskrit, she who is black, or she who is death. In Hinduism, goddess of time, doomsday, and death, or the black goddess, the feminine form of Sanskrit Kala, time, doomsday, death, or black. All right. And there's no coincidence that they put Kamala Harris out there, because they know that this place is finished. All right. I'm not saying that, that has anything to do with it, but hey, I wouldn't put nothing past these devils. That's how they operate. So Kali means is death. And this was the goddess of time, doomsday, and death. So why did they put that on the Empire State Building? They're telling people something. And this was 2015. This was approximately 5 years, a little more than 5 years before this whole situation we're seeing going on right now. And this is leading for destruction, for doomsday. All right. So let's go from there. Let's go to Job chapter 20. Job chapter 20 and verse 23. when he is about to fill his belly, meaning when he is about to fully cement his agenda, the so-called New World Order, right? Matter of fact, before I read this, because that went with the other. I jotted down a couple of precepts dealing with the whole missile, with the Alpha and Omega and Planet of the Apes, but now let's proceed. Job 20 and 23. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him. And this is the fury of the Most High's wrath. Let's go real quick to Psalms 75 and 5. And it says, lift not up your horn on high, which horn represents power. Speak not with a stiff neck. Yeah, because this is what Esau does. The pride of their heart has deceived them. Because they think because they were given that position that they're in, that they're the shit. But you're not. It says, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. And he'll cause conflicts, situations to happen, disagreements, underhanded things to happen, plans to fall apart, marriages, arranged marriages to fall apart, just different things to fall apart in general, to cause conflict between the two particular nations that he wants to use for war, or for one nation to be like, you know what, man, I'm tired of these pieces of shit. Let's get them out of here. And this is how all these different wars started, because the Most High is the one that set this whole thing up. Matter of fact, before I read on, let's go to Psalms 46. And 9. I started at 8. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he hath made in the earth. Yeah, because you had to set up one and bring down others. And that would be through what? Through war. It says he maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. Yeah, because he can cause wars to happen, and he could also make wars to cease. Let's go to Isaiah 13 and 4. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. Because the Lord of hosts means what? The Lord of the armies. Yahweh Tazabah. Or the Lord of Sabaoth. So the Lord is the one that mustereth the host of the battle. He gathers the battle together. He's the one that, let's go to Zephaniah 3 and 8. Therefore wait ye upon the Lord. Wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, unto the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations. So who is gathering these nations over there in the Middle East? The Most High is. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Remember, Yahushai was working on the mind of that particular Persian king, and Michael came to help him. So the Lord is making the preparation of the heart of these kings. He's setting them up. They thinking that they're doing underhanded things because they're going to establish a new world order, and they think they're going to be joint rulers with Esau and in this up and coming world. But the Lord said He's going to do something to where He's going to cause conflict between these unions. All right. It says that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. See, because Esau has control of the whole planet. So the Lord is going to take this devil down in a matter of an hour. He's going to bring his whole system, a whole collapse of his system in that moment. And their plans of establishing this new world order, or this new order of the age, is going to die right there in their bunkers, because they're not going to get to accomplish it. So we go back to Psalms 46 and 9. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Because when the time comes, the Lord, like as it says in Isaiah the 2nd chapter and Micah the 4th chapter, that the Lord is going to have these nations beat their swords into plows and their spears into pruning hooks. Because what they're going to do is they're going to have farming utensils to go into captivity, to farm lands, because they're going to be in captivity under us. So there's not going to be any more wars on the planet. All right. So going back to Psalm 75:7, but the Most High is a judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup. And what is this cup? This cup is that fury that the Lord is about to pour upon this world. And the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poureth out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. So you're going to drink to the very last drop. That's why this devastation is going to be so devastating. This is why the prophets, when they saw it, they were scared. They were nervous. They got sick. Because of the magnitude of the vision of what they saw. And remember, the Lord took them and actually put them there to see this. So in another dimension, they saw all of this happening that we're seeing happening right now. And the end, and the kingdom. All right. So going back to Job 20, it says, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, because those missiles is going to be the fury of the Lord. And when the Most High unleash, that's it. You know? And shall rain it upon him while he is eating. That's why it says that men's hearts failing for fear and looking upon the things that are coming upon the earth. Because it's going to be devastated. Along with all of that turmoil and chaos and fire, the chariots, Yahushua and the angels and the chariots. So you could just imagine the kind of turmoil that's going to be, you know, when that time comes. You know, the lack of mental and spiritual comprehension of these things that these people are going to go through. Because they're not going to have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to be able to discern why these things are happening. It says, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. The same way the Most High rained fire and brimstone from the heavens upon Sodom and Gomorrah. But this time it's coming in the form of the vehicle that the Lord gave these scientists to build to perfect these nations, and the Lord's going to use that same technology to bring them down. Let's go to Psalms. Let's go to Psalms chapter 7. And there's another scripture that says that the wicked shall be turned into hell, meaning they're going to be brought to a low point. Psalms 7:13. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. What are the instruments of death? You got it, baby. Right there. It's right here. Matter of fact, where'd you go? Right there. That's the instruments of death. You know what? Those are the instruments of death. Iran. China. Here you go. Pakistan. You know? America. France. All these different nations. Russia got these nuclear missiles. And the Most High is going to slap it right out of their hand and take over. This is that wasted to destroy. Where we at? Psalm 7 and the rest of 13. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors. Yeah. Because the Lord said, when you stop, you cease to spoil, you're going to be spoiled. What you think? You think you're going to be able to do all this shit and then the Lord's not going to do nothing to you? Are you out your natural mind? Revelation chapter 18 and 21. I studied 20. It says, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Because that missile, those missiles are going to totally annihilate this place. It's gonna reduce it to a flat land, a flat wasteland. Point blank, period. Back in Psalm 7 and 14, behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and that's what they do. They're the persecutors. And hath conceived mischief, and that's what they've done. And brought forth falsehood, and that's what they've done. And that's what the majority of the world is still in that trick bag. Because the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not. He made a pit and digged it. And these missiles are a part of his pit that he digged. And he can't get out of it. It says, and is fallen into the ditch which he made, because this is going to be your own undoing. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. And these devils have done nothing but cause grief, oppression, and many, many other things that you can add to synonyms to that. And much, much more. Bloodshed, so on and so forth. So what do you think they're going to reap? I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and will sing praise to the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Most High. So going back to Job 20 and 24, because when he is about to eat, the Lord is going to rain upon him while he is eating. In the midst of putting this together, you know how like you cook meal and you eating, like tasting stuff, and then as you setting the table up, you might be snacking on a little something, and you're like, man, I can't wait to tear into this food, man. Woo, I know it's going to be good. Or that's how Esau's going to be. And then all of a sudden, boom, your whole shit's going to go up in smoke. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. And what is that iron weapon? The missiles. What is the bow of steel? The missiles. And what shoots the missiles? The silos, the nuclear silos. And what is that going to cause? That's going to cause an effect for that these missiles come from one part of the world all the way to the other part of the world. And they have the capability of doing that. Let's go, let's see. 2 Ezra 16:13. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow, that's the missiles, the silos. His arrows, which are the missiles, that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world, which is what over here in the so-called Americas. And there's no coincidence that these things are called ICBM, which is an acronym for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, going from one continent to the other. And now, what is it? China has what? Hypersonic missiles? Nuclear missiles? Come on, man. Job 20:25. It is drawn and cometh out of the body. What is the body? What is the body? Let's see if they have some here. What is the body? You got it. The silo, see? It's in there. That's the silo. That's the sheath. That's the body. And this is the arrow. This is the quiver. This is the arrow. That's the quiver. That's the arrow. That's the quiver. That's the arrow. This is the bow. This is the arrow. And what's it going to do? Let's see if they show. Boom. Coming out the silo. Coming out the silo. Coming out the silo. Boom. Coming out the silo. There you go. All right. It says, it is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword. Why? Because of that fire that's going to be in it, propelling it from one part of the world to the other. Cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. So Esau, the terror shall make him afraid on every side. And when Yahushua said that men's hearts failing for fear of looking at the things that are coming upon the earth, he meant that. Because the Most High is the king of terrors. And what do you think his son's going to do? All darkness shall be hid in his secret places. What are his secret places? These silos. I'm sorry, these shelters. And what is the darkness? The darkness is his plans that he plans on doing, because this was secretive. But it's that vision is going to die in those bunkers. A fire not blown shall consume him, because you're not going to blow a fire. You're not going to start a fire, and like they would have those catapults they would set this what you call it on fire and shoot them into the walls of the city. There ain't going to be nobody to start the fire. The fire is going to come from those missiles. And remember, the Most High is a consuming fire. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. So anyone left on the shores of America or any place in the world where these missiles are going to hit, they finished. That's why it says it shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. The heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. And we see that happening. Right now, they're speaking about how there's space garbage, space junk up in the heavens, circling up in the heavens. And it said that's detrimental to the satellites, because it's going to knock the satellites out. It's detrimental to the space stations. Who did that? Who is a demonic robot like that destroyed the earth, has the whole earth, polluted? Now he wants the people. He polluted the earth, but now he wants the people to pay for it. And then he pollutes the heavens. Man, the Most High got a serious judgment coming for you goddamn devils, boy. It says the increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath, because there's going to be a great transfer of wealth. That's a lesson right there for a brother. The great transfer of wealth. And all those riches are going to transfer from your hands to our hands. Beginning with our Lord and Savior, Yahushua. This is the portion of a wicked man from the Most High, and the heritage appointed unto him by the Most High. Because they were the vessels of wrath, or they are the vessels of wrath, fitted for destruction. And the Lord has set them up so. He put them in slippery places. They're not going to prosper. They're only going to go so far. And then, boom, the end of your rulership. Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for that. Because it's about damn time. So with that, I pray that you brothers and your few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say shalom.